Hey guys, my name is Anay Dave, and today we'll be looking at the common mistakes that people make while solving puzzles. So, in CET, there are 75 questions of logical, and usually 30 or 35 of these are your puzzles. So, you have a wide variety of puzzles. You have your flow based puzzles, your matrix puzzles, your linear puzzles, your circular puzzles, or even miscellaneous puzzles, blood relations, and all of those. You have a wide variety of puzzles that are there and a very limited amount of time to solve them. So today we'll be looking at a couple of common things that people go wrong in and how you should try to, prevent those from happening or stop them from happening. Because I think this is not the make or break section, but it definitely is something that can boost your score in the last few minutes of the paper. Or, this is what can also make the difference. So it becomes important to at least try to attend these. So let's go over that list. So firstly, I think the biggest thing about CET as a whole and about puzzles is your selection. So one place where a lot of people go wrong is the selection, because what happens is when you have, let's say, 30 minutes left and you have six sets to solve, you don't know which one to start with, because you are wondering, you don't know enough of the puzzle in the start to decide that I'm going to attempt this one. You see the entire text, you see what is going on, and that's not enough information to decide that I should be starting with this. So a lot of people just go sequentially or based on some feeling that they have. So I think a lot of people make this very irrational decision to start off with some puzzle, and because of selection, they end up messing up their section and this entire paper because they aren't able to solve it enough, or they aren't able to solve it fast enough. So for that selection, there's a very definite criteria. For example, if you look at the way the puzzle is, or you need certain cues from the puzzle, like the number of people sitting or the difficulty level that you expect and your familiarity with that. If you're able to assess these things and a couple of other factors, then you should be sorted for at least this part of selection. The second mistake that a lot of people make that directly relates from selection is basically spending too long on the wrong set. What happens many times is that we pick a set which is extremely difficult, but we don't realize that it is extremely difficult until 6 to 7 minutes are done. Now, after 7 minutes are done, leaving a set half is a very big crime. You can leave it half, but the ideal attempt would be to stop at around 3 to 4 minutes and switch and go to a different section, to go to a different puzzle. So when you are attempting a puzzle, I think that becomes really important that you put this limit to it, because what happens is that you will not be able to solve it. 7 minutes will pass, 10 minutes will pass, 15 minutes will pass. Before you know it, the paper slipped away from your hands and you can't score more marks. So this is a very common mistake that I've seen in my own mocks as well. I have made this mistake where I've taken a puzzle, taken on my ego, and thought that, hey, this is a very easy puzzle. I should be able to solve this. This is one of the easiest puzzles I've seen here. How can I not solve this? And then I keep solving it. 20 minutes pass, and then that's it. 20 minutes in CET for one question, for five questions is just you're out of the race in that much. So that would be the second place where people make a lot of mistakes. The third place where people make a lot of mistakes is reading the question wrong. So in CET, you have eight people sitting in a circle. Sometimes you have seven people sitting in a circle. Sometimes you have people whose names start with A's. Like you'll always have A. Everyone's name will start with an A. Sometimes you'll see a person facing north, facing south. People make a lot of these mistakes where they either put people wrong, or they're facing the wrong direction, or it's the wrong person altogether, or they miss out a knot that the, A does not have a bag or whatever, something like that. These words that are there become extremely important, or there are four people between A and B, or A sits to the right of B, or A sits immediately to the right of B. These minor things that are there, they become extremely important because they change the entire section that is there. They change the entire set that you have. And based on this one sentence, you can end up going wrong in the entire thing. So it becomes really important to make sure that what you're reading from the top has to be done properly. Like you should be reading the right things, and you have to make sure that you've read the right question. If you don't read the right question, you aren't going to solve the right question. If you don't solve the right questions, you aren't going to get the answers right. So you're losing out after spending a lot of time on it. So definitely make sure that you read the question correctly and you're copying the right information from the top. The fourth point where people make a lot of mistakes is the options. When it comes to options, that time they purposely put two options, which will be fifth to the right, fifth to the left. Something like this. Like they'll put both options, and then you have to think over there. But what is the answer? Like, they'll give you both options where both cases are possible. For example, if it's north-south linear arrangement, and it is five spaces apart. So they'll give you both fifth to the right and fifth to the left. And then you have to decide in that moment what is it exactly. Like, you have to go back to your thing and actually check, am I marking the right thing? Because if you've got the set right and then you make mistakes like this, you regret it a lot. There is a lot of regret that you're filled with after spending time on a section, spending time on a puzzle, and then marking the wrong questions in the end. I think there's just regret at the end of that. So these would be the four major things that I have seen happen. So the first is your question selection. So when it comes to puzzles, question selection is key. You need to make sure that you're selecting the right sets and you're spending a decent amount of time before deciding whether to stop or not. The second thing is that if you decide to stop, do it fast. The earlier you decide, the better. So that would be the second point, where people spend too long and they waste too much time deciding whether they should leave it. So they spend 10 minutes and then decide, chalo, this is not what I want to do. That is not what is ideal. You should be able to do it as fast as possible. So that comes through practice. The third would be reading it wrong. And I personally have done this a lot. When it comes to circles, I've made 8 people instead of 7 out of habit. And then the entire question goes wrong. So you waste time and get 0 marks. That is another thing you should keep in mind, or the words that are there in between, not, etc., or immediately to the right, immediately to the left. All these words that are there, they are extremely important. And the fourth would be the options that are there. Like, what exactly is the option asking you? What is the question asking you? Yeah, even the question, in fact. The question can ask you to the right or to the left of the person. So in that also you need to make sure, are they facing towards the center? Are they facing north, south? What exactly are they trying to say? So all in all, these would be the 4 most common mistakes that I have seen people make. And it would be best if you are able to stay away from these. So thank you and all the best for your prep. See you in the next video.